The National Bureau of Statistics has reported that the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory recorded 849.12 billion naira in internally generated revenue in the first half of 2021. This shows 39% increase year on year after the COVID pandemic impacted revenue generation last year. Well, this is base year effect, so it may not be so much to celebrate. And now that many states have passed their budget, let's see how they can boost their revenue to meet up with this responsibility in 2022, especially because the Debt Management Office has stated that domestic debt owed by states and the Federal Capital Territory rose to 4.2 trillion naira at the end of the third quarter of this year, compared to 4.12 trillion naira in the second quarter. Well, joining us to discuss this is the former Commissioner of Commerce in Ogun State, Otunba Bimbo Ashiru. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Ine. Thank you for having me around the morning and compliment of the season.
Wish you the same. Wish you the same, Mr. Ashiru. So let's start with, would you say that states have recovered in the area of revenue generation after last year's shock by COVID-19?
Well, if you look at the statistics, 2019 and 2020, you could see that some states actually made some money, they made some revenue. I mean, they made about 1.3 trillion pounds naira in that year, and as against 1.33 in 2019. And the point here is that whether there is pandemic, whether there's COVID, that will definitely very well. It's the fact that if the pandemic, how we can generate revenue. And the point is this. We need to focus on something which we are trying to shy away from. And we must become a true federalism. The states must run like a mini country. And that's what we need in Nigeria today. And the states must generate their own revenue internally and look at how things can be done. They must look internally. And I mean, I served for 8 years and I know what it is. So you must look at areas where you can generate. But one thing that is very key, you can only generate good revenue if you create the necessary infrastructure for people, for the industries, and for the people that are going to pay this tax. Because you generate IGRs, funds are coming from tax. And I will tell you this, if you look at how things are done, you find out that even some of the states, they have no idea of what they are doing. Some states are not viable. There are only 10 states, top 10 states that are doing very well in this country today. You take, for example, Lagos, 2000. You have Delta, you have Ogun, you have Kaduna, you have Kano, Oyo. So some of these states are doing very well. So the point here is that how will the states survive? We must get something right. I mean, I laugh at people when they are agitating for more states. Some states are not viable. Some states are making 7 billion in a year, and their expenses to pay staff salary is more than that. So their liquidity ratio is Z. So the point is that how do we do that? And we get to a level in this country whereby states must run like a country, mini country. And that brings me to how things that, if you remember Rubens, the owner of Rubens, he was the mayor in America, in New York, and it transformed New York. We must get to a level, because this is a chain and it works together. We must get to a level whereby we must start having the right caliber of people to run the states. Because I'll be honest with you, some state governors, they don't have an idea of what they're even doing. They don't even know what they're going to do. We're not prepared for it. So the point is that we must get people who are willing, people that are comfortable in their own right, that are not willing, because there are so many leakages in the state. It's not like revenue. Forget about COVID. Many leakages, funds that are supposed to go into the state are going to the private pockets. So those are the things we need to look at. It has nothing to do with COVID. Yes, COVID affected everybody all over the world. But presently, what we are looking at, how do we, because you see, you make the best out of the bad situation. In this pandemic period, you could see that so many people are making money. Medical areas, they are thinking out of the box. How do we do this? How do we do that? And even some of these states are being supported by companies, CSR, to help them out. So the revenue we are talking about has to do with how do the managers, and it's leadership. If you don't have good leader running the state.
All right, Mr. Ashiru. All right, but you know, when you talk about states running as mini countries,
the most.
can you hear me, Mr. Ashiru?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
So when you talk about states running like mini countries, a lot of governors would bring up the issue of exclusive lists. So some of them have mineral resources, solid mineral resources, and some other, and then these things they don't have control over because of exclusive lists. So some of them have said that these are some of the things that have deterred their efforts to maximize revenue generation in their state.
Well, I will tell you this. If you look at the exclusivity we are talking about, mineral resources, you are supposed to be paid some premium. And let me tell you this. Most of these things are in the Constitution because what they are trying to say is that, okay, well, oil and everything, I mean, the federal government will do this and they will have to sort the deficit. There is a way, whether mineral resources or not, you even have, let's forget about mineral resources. I mean, I will give you a good example. I mean, when I was in Ogun State, mining, you see, Ogun State has the largest resources for cement and limestone. I mean, they can. I mean, look at Lafarge. Lafarge has been in Ogun State for almost 60 years now, and they are still mining. But the point is this: there's a royalty you pay to the federal government. I mean, I will give you an example. 35% of the revenue generated then was from Ogun State. But Ogun State is being paid back out of the money. But the point is that how judiciously are the states maximizing what they have, the resources they have? Forget about natural resources, I mean, mining and everything. But you take, for example, Lafarge. Dangote moved into Ogun State. Lafarge is in Ogun State. And they pay their taxes. The income they pay, I mean, the taxes they pay, the revenue they make, they still pay income to the state government. I know that, I mean, you charge them what needs to be charged. The issue of the natural resources exclusivity is something that is a constitutional issue that will need to be resolved. But having said that, some states that they don't have mineral resources, how viable are they? What I'm saying in essence is that you can focus on agriculture that will lead into industrialization. What I'm saying is that, assuming what we are saying is that we depend so much so much on the federal government. Because I said, states we should focus on, we should become a true federalism, a country whereby the federal government will focus on all the major things like airport, the soldiers, the navy, police, and the states will have their own state police. So you see, by the time you are generating this revenue, you'll be paying just premium to the federal government. So the point here is that whether the exclusivity list of states, they fought it and they won the case. For example, Lagos State were not getting any funds from the federal government, then they were making money. Tell me the mineral resources they have in Lagos State. But Lagos State is a commercial center.
Oh, okay. I think do we have Mr. Ashiru back? Okay. Mr. Ashiru was just telling us, in fact, challenging state governors or state governments, to look inwards and try to maximize what they have. Talking about agriculture, solid minerals, and for him, it's not an excuse that we have the exclusive list, which a lot of governments will say has been a deterrent to them, to maximize some of their natural resources. We'll just take a short break. We'll try and get Mr. Ashiru back to finish up his thoughts. We'll take a short break and then we'll come back to conclude this conversation. Well, I believe we have Mr. Ashiru back now to finish up his thoughts just before we end this segment. Hello, Mr. Ashiru, are you back? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Ashiru?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So you were about to finish up your thoughts. I perceive challenging state governments to maximize their comparative advantage.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. What I'm saying in essence is that the problem is that state governments can still make the best out of the bad situation. Whatever it is, you can still generate right income. Necessarily for your state. if you think out of the box, we make something out of it. That people will tell you, when I was in the banking industry, you must squeeze water out of a stone. So you must be state must be able to do that. And let me tell you this, as a governor, when you are going out to campaign, you must have an idea of what you're going to do because you know the problem on ground. So how do you solve that problem? So that is what you're telling people that are going to do. So when they get there, they do something else. Their focus is on something else. So my own point is that we must now start bringing people that have the right caliber of people that we want, even local government and local government. Because you see, when I was talking about true federalism, mini country, you see, look, when we were growing up, local governments were very powerful. When you look at local governments, they were very powerful. I mean, I remember where I come from, Ogun State. The chairman of local government there was Chief Bishop Anabanjo, who has distinguished himself in his serving career. And he came in and he was able to turn things around. They had the focus. But nowadays, different kind of people are now local government chairmen. Then you have state government too. So the local government must be powerful, the state must be powerful because they are not going to be generating income. I mean, look at the IGR we are talking about.
Yeah, okay. You know, Mr. Ashiru, you talked, from the onset, you've been talking about, getting the right people in there. So, of course, this takes us to politicking and choosing leaders and all that. And I guess this falls more on the followers. Are the followers ready, to forsake the benefit of today to choose a good leader for tomorrow? I guess that's another question that comes up from this.
Yes, you are right. The problem we have is that, let me give you a good example. For every state governor, the first 3 years is when they are focusing on the job. The last 1 year is when they are focusing on politicking. And the point is that when you have the right caliber of people, the right leaders, the followers we are talking about, because it's the poverty. Now people are giving 1,000 hours to vote during election. And when they vote, after the vote, that is all. Because they pay. But when we start telling our leaders, even in the National Assembly, then that whatever you have done there, you are coming back home, you are not going to vote you back there. And you start telling people that governors, when you don't perform, you are looking at, look at their appraiser. If you don't perform well, you are not coming back. So when you look at that, people will start thinking out of the box that, look, I'm going there to serve. How many of our leaders are serving genuinely? No. Some of them are selfish and self-centered. So that brings me to what the problem is all about. Because the IGR issue, making money for the state, is for the benefit of the state. And let me give you a good example. Government is a continuum. When you have a new governor, his predecessor must have done some projects, spent billions of naira on the project. And now you came in and you just forgot about the project. So that means the good people of that state, they've lost revenue, they've lost funds, they've lost capital, they've lost investment. They are starting another project. There's nothing wrong in continuing and finishing the project of your predecessor. So when you succeed a government, but you see, because of the way we are formed in this country, we don't do that. So when you come in as a governor, you forget and leave. But some of these governors are doing a very good job. I mean, look at what the guy in Rivers is doing. He's completing the project. And I'm impressed with Governor Abiodun. He's completing the project that is presented of Governor Musu, which I was part of the government. He's completing some of the projects.
All right, Mr. Ashiru, we're really out of time now. But just in one sentence, what's your thoughts on the VAT tussle? Should states be collecting? Should it be federal government? What's your thoughts? We're almost...
Oh, I'll be honest with you. VAT is supposed to be collected by the state government. It's in the constitution. It is a statutory frame. But the problem is that it was the military that created the problem. The military created that problem because it's convenient for them. And now the federal government, when the civilian government came in, they didn't want to do that because it's comfortable, it's convenient for them. But the states are fighting it. You can see that the president is now actually going back to the assembly to make it a law. But the law clearly shows and states that VAT is supposed to be collected by the state government.
All right, Mr. Ashiru, we really have to thank you.
Anybody saying it's going to collect by federal government, the state government revenue is supposed to be collected by state government.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bimbo Ashiru, former Commissioner of Commerce in Ogun State, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. Very straight to the point thoughts there. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. So I will just take a break now, a very short break, and then we'll be back to go to FX Commodities Market. Do stay with us. It's Business Morning on Channels Television.